Welcome to FitHer, where strong women share real stories, expert insight, and bold truths about health, fitness, and living fully because your journey matters. Now, let's get into it. I am your host, Kristen Hislop, and we are here today with Lara Byrn, who many of you will recognize. And we're going to talk a little bit about her professional career, but we're also really going to talk about health and fitness too, and a new endeavor that she has going on. So, you balance a lot on your plate right now,
Yeah.
right? And I think a lot of times women put themselves last when they've got a lot going on. So how do you balance everything that you have going on and still focus on you?
Yeah, it's been hard because I have two little kids. My daughter is 4, almost 5, and my son is 6 months old. And, I was pregnant. And so obviously that put a damper on how much I could care for myself, or because I didn't feel well. And I was busy trying to take care of my toddler and do what I could to just get by the day. And now that I'm not pregnant anymore and I feel better and I'm back to work, I have been carving out time for myself in the mornings. I'm getting up before the kids. I'm exercising before they wake up. Luckily, they're pretty good sleepers. And so, yeah, if it means setting my alarm at 5:30 in the morning, not ideal, but I love having that time to myself in the morning where no one is bothering me and it's quiet. But also I get a good workout in. I'm listening to podcasts or whatever. And it's just really good me time. And that seems to be consistently the only time I can sneak it in and make it happen.
Well, but it sounds like too that you actually schedule it.
Yeah.
You really say I'm going to, and I think that's one thing that people don't do with fitness. They schedule everything else. You schedule meetings at work, when you're picking your kids up from daycare or, all of that. And so why wouldn't we just schedule that in?
It's so true. Before my son was born and I just had my daughter and I had just switched to this shift. I work a normal hours now, 9:30 to 6 p.m. I would do this thing where I said, oh, I'll take her to daycare and then I'll have time and I'll work out then and then shower and go to work. But I could never get her out of the house. If anybody knows, having a little kid, getting them out of the house is hard. I could never get her out of the house in time to actually make time for the workout to happen. It'd be 10 minutes. I could run a mile. And then I'd be all right, well, that was cool, but it didn't really get me going. Yeah. So I started thinking when I was on maternity leave, how am I going to make this work in my real life when I go back to work? What will it look like? And I actually, even in the weeks leading up to going back to work, started setting my alarm slightly earlier each week, just so I could get my body into the rhythm of waking up at that time. And now, even if I don't exercise in the morning because of a doctor's appointment or something, I still wake up at 6 just so I have that bit of time in the morning.
Exactly. Well, and it does become, your body, you have a body clock. And so it's consistency.
Yeah.
Right? So it's
circadian rhythm.
It's just like naps, right? You're not going to say, well, I'm going to put my son down at a 1 o'clock nap today and a 4 o'clock the next day and 5 o'clock the next, it's consistency, right? Yeah. So we teach that and we automatically do it with our kids. Why wouldn't we do it with ourselves and keep that? Yeah. That's awesome. You are on TV.
Yes.
You're on CBS. How did you get into TV?
It's so funny because I don't know, a number of years ago when we were cleaning out my old house, my childhood stuff, I found a project that I did in the 3rd grade. And I don't know if this was part of the project or just the way I interpreted it, but I pretended I was a newscaster in the project. And I used to watch Channel 7 ABC growing up in New York. And so I even signed off saying I'm Lara, Eyewitness News, Channel 7 or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, this has been in me since I'm that little. And I think I grew up watching the news in the morning with my mom, the Today Show and Good Morning America. And she always said, you're going to be the next Katie Couric. You're going to be the next Katie Couric. And it stuck with me. I'm a chatterbox. And it's basically combining my love of talking to people with my love of writing. And it's the perfect thing.
So I think people have this view that television is glamorous and, oh, you're so lucky to have that job. Yes, and of course, a Katie Couric or a Savannah Guthrie. Now that we know her salary and stuff, like that's a very different style of TV that they're doing from what you do. And even in the time that I've been doing segments on television, it has changed drastically. And that now, I mean, so many people they're doing their own reporting as well as, being on the news. So they're out in the field with a camera doing work. So how has it changed? And what does an average day look like?
Yeah. So I did that for about 4 years when I first started. That's a very, like, when you're new in the business, they just kind of throw you a camera. You have to shoot everything yourself. You have to write everything. You have to edit everything. They call it a one-man band reporter. So that's what I was doing for a while. And the thing is, the industry has changed so much because of money, right? Like, people aren't watching TV the way that they used to. Everything is digital now. Everything is online. It's on your phone. And because of that, it's also cut costs in newsrooms. And so we're trying to find ways to do more with less. And that's how it winds up shaking out. My day is a little bit different now because I've been doing this for 15, 16 years. And so I'm finally in like a full-time anchoring position. But I still go out and report stories a couple times a week with a photographer. So I come in, I have my morning meeting. Soon after that, I get ready to anchor the noon show. I do my own hair and my own makeup. There's no person there helping me. Wardrobe is all my own. I do a lot of clothing rentals too, just to freshen new items in and out and cycle them through. And then after the noon, I usually will go out and shoot a story or be writing a story. And then I get ready to do it all over again at 5 o'clock.
So I think it's interesting too, because there was just something they were talking about, saying people's names, or you really, to report effectively, this is in my mind, you have to know what's going on in the world. You really have to, and you've got to not just know, like, to be able to read it.
Yes.
But to be able to, the way you read something and the names and the places and all of that, like, how much time do you spend, like, researching and looking into stories?
Yeah. So usually about an hour before the show is when I'll start really reading through what's in the show. So I have a producer that's writing most of the stories for me. I'll go in and I'll edit them and tweak things to how I would naturally say it. But a lot of times there will be names that I don't know how to say. Sometimes I'm kind of guessing, if it's a criminal in the area, I don't really know. I'll kind of just do my best. But if it's a more well-known person that I should know, I will look up a video from somewhere of another interview that they've done and make sure that I'm saying it appropriately. I'll put pronouncers in my script. Sometimes we've even called the police department and been like, how do you say this person's name? And have them tell it to us. And sometimes if it is a criminal or something, we don't find out until like their court appearance, and we hear how their lawyer is saying their name, and we go, oh, that's how you say it. Got it. And then we send like an email out to the whole newsroom so that we know how to say it moving forward. But it is something I think about, because not only do I want to get it right, but I also don't want to stumble over it when I'm on live TV and look silly. So
exactly. And it's hard. And I think people don't really realize that too. Like, when you're on live TV, yes, you have a teleprompter.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean the teleprompter always works. Sometimes they'll stop rolling and then you've got to just keep going. Or if you do mispronounce something, you have to be able to just keep going. Yeah. So it's definitely an art. Yeah. But I also think that a lot of people, like, when I'll ask them if they are willing to do like an interview for the Run for women, or like they're all like terrified.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I can't go on TV. And then once they do it, they're like, oh, that was not as bad as I thought. It was like actually like having a conversation with someone.
Yeah.
And so I think it's an awesome experience for people to have.
Yeah, it is. And that's what I usually find too. The people that are the most nervous are the ones who do the best in interviews. And then the people who come up to me and are like, I'll do an interview. Then they freeze up once they get a camera put on them, which is pretty funny. Yeah. But people ask me like how I'm not nervous in front of the camera. And I always say, well, I'm not seeing all the people that are watching me. I'm in a studio literally alone. The only other person that's in there with me is the meteorologist, and he's busy doing his own forecasting. He's not paying attention to me. So I'm just alone. I'm just like talking to a lens. That doesn't feel like...
Right. So do you get nervous like when you go and you have to present at an event? Right? Because then you do have all those
And I
people.
do. I MC events all the time. And yeah, it's very nerve-wracking for me. I get very nervous. And then once I get on stage and I start talking, it's just like I have to rip off the Band-Aid and then I'm okay. But yeah, scary for me.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's awesome, right? Because people always think like, oh, well, you're on the news, so you can do that kind of thing easily.
Yeah.
And I do think, I mean, I tell all the time, like I had painfully shy written on report cards. I would not raise my hand in college and talk in a class. And then I ended up training people when I worked at the Federal Reserve Bank. And so I was standing in front of banks from upstate New York, telling them what to do. And I realized, oh, they don't know if I'm going to make a mistake because they don't know what I'm going to say.
Right.
And that started to give me the confidence that like, oh, I could do this, you know? And so people, I mean, when I was a kid, they were like, I can't believe you do that stuff. I can't believe you're on TV. Like, how can you do that? And it's like, well, you got to learn.
Gotta learn. I did the Melodies of Christmas, and it was my first time ever doing that.
Yeah.
And that is a show that you're doing like 4 nights, and there's a lot of people in the audience at Proctor's, and it's this historic show that's been going on a long time, tradition. And I said, wow, I really can't mess this up. I was so anxious about it. And after the first night, I was like, okay, I got this now. We're good.
This goes well. I like
Yeah.
this. Yeah, that's awesome. So recently you announced that you have a new endeavor, Lighten Up with Lara. And it's, well, from what I've seen, it's combination yoga and then health coaching. But then you're also doing some work with Resolute Physical Therapy class there. So let's talk about that.
So Lighten Up with Lara is something that I've been wanting to do for a really long time. I became a yoga teacher back in 2019, and all throughout the pandemic, I was doing teacher training. So, yeah, I've worked at random studios and gyms and stuff like that. But I love the idea of having my own thing, my own business, because I think that there are actually a lot of women or people, doesn't have to be women, who don't feel comfortable going to a yoga studio, that can be very intimidating. They don't know anybody. They don't want to wear tight clothes in front of all these people. They feel like they're going to make a fool of themselves, moving their body in a weird way. So I like the idea of offering an opportunity to teach private classes with them so they don't have to feel silly or embarrassed. Also, I think when you go to yoga classes and a teacher is shouting like Warrior One, if you don't know what that is really scary. And so to be able to be one-on-one and just have you say, what is Warrior One? Can you just tell me what I'm supposed to do with my foot? Right. And for me to stand there and help you, like that is the benefit of doing a private class. So that's really fun.
I think that's pretty huge actually, because I'm a Lululemon run ambassador.
Oh yeah.
And I did a call with them. They were doing research on yoga, and they wanted to know from non-yogis, what's your impression of yoga? And my thing is like, it's really hard and I can't do what everybody else does because I don't move that way.
Yeah.
But
Not true.
Well, but it's so interesting, right? And we got into this whole conversation about it, but it's like my fears are very similar to other people's fears, but people automatically would assume, well, you run, so of course you could go do that. And you go to other classes and you do strength. Like, why wouldn't you just go to your yoga class? Like, no, because it is that unknown, and it's not knowing what the name is and what the move is. And then it's also well, what if I can't do pigeon? Like, I just have like, I'm working on my mobility, but it's still not there to do it. So, what are the modifications?
Yep.
And so that's where this is
And
great.
that's also where a private class can help big time, because I can go over all those modifications with you. And it's really tailored to what are you trying to work on? What is your goal? Or do you have an injury? Is it, or you have constant chronic shoulder tightness that you're trying to loosen up? Let's work on that then. And you can have those goals as opposed to just taking a generic class and not knowing what you're walking into. So that's kind of the beauty of this. And so I actually found Resolute PT because I went there for pelvic floor PT after I had my son. And when I mentioned to her that I was a yoga teacher, she was like, we have a ton of pregnant women that come here for PT. It would be awesome to have you teach them because they want prenatal yoga, because there's not a lot of prenatal yoga offerings around here. And so I was like, well, let's do it. And I said, you know, if I'm going to launch my business, I would like to be able to launch with some dates off the top that people can sign up. So I had my first class. It was great. The students were asking questions like, is this post safe? And I said, yes, this version, this modification is safe.
Well, because they don't get that guidance from their gynecologist.
No.
And it's like going in, like all the prenatal and then the postnatal. And it's like, oh, well, come back when you feel good.
Yeah.
Well, what? Like, you know, and it's like coming back from an injury in a sense. Like, you know, so yes, you do need to know your body to a certain extent. But a lot of times they'll tell you, well, wait 6 weeks. Well, do you have to wait 6 weeks? Like some people do, some people don't, you know? So I think that's awesome to be able to do that. And a great way to impart education, right? Of like, okay, here's what you can do. Here's what's safe to do.
Right.
Here's what's good for the baby. And I feel like I have my own theory on this, but I think the more active you are during your pregnancy, that your kids are like, there's some genetic stuff that happens there.
Oh, that the kids become more active?
Yes!
Interesting.
Right? Like, I don't know. I was active with both my boys. And like, I don't know. I make this up. But if it does work, then great.
Well, I for sure think that the more active you are when you're pregnant, the easier it is to kind of get back into your former body when you have the baby. And because you like, I remember after I had my son, I couldn't wait to go on walks with him just because that's fun and cute. But also like, I was so sick of being pregnant for all that time that I was like, oh my God, I can move my body again. This is amazing. And all I wanted to do was move my body. So I was going on walks. I was doing yoga with him at home. Like I just, it felt so good to like move.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. But you also have a health coaching side of it. So let's talk about that, because I think a lot of people don't know what health coaching is, right? It's kind of, it's like, tell us.
Even for me, it's hard to explain because it's kind of a little bit of everything. It's almost like you're a jack of all trades. And I hate to say that and make myself seem like I don't know what I'm talking about. That's not true. But I did get it, health coaching and human performance certification. But I'm not a dietitian or a nutritionist. I'm not a personal trainer. But what I can do is I can sit down with a person and see what's going on in your life. Let's see how you're spending your time. Let's see where you want to be spending your time. And let's try and bridge the gaps that we're seeing here. So if you want to be eating healthier, well, what are you eating right now? Let's really look at it. And then let's sit down together and see where we can make some healthier choices or move things around in the timeline of your day so you're not eating at 9:30 at night a bag of potato chips or whatever the case may be. And all of that stuff is really more like mindset and goals. And you can then apply that to everything: sleep, food, workouts, like stress management. That's another big one that I think people kind of discount. Like there's a lot of breath work practices that you can do to help manage your stress in those kind of high intensity moments. So all of that is the kind of stuff that I'm doing with people.
And I think people don't really think about all of that and how tied together everything is, right? Connected. So it's like, it's just like I say in your body, if you have pain in your hip, it could be coming from your foot.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So, and if you have extra stress in your life, that could be coming from a whole bunch. It could be coming from what you eat.
Yeah.
Right? It's just, and how your body is able to or not able to digest something. Yeah. So yes, it is so connected. And how has the reception been on that?
Good. I mean, I think I think that especially since the pandemic, that was such a turning point for people thinking about health. And I think right now we're also in a time where people are thinking about big changes that have happened with insurance and whether they're covered. And people are really being more mindful about what they're doing with their bodies, or they're trying to be. Yeah. And I think what they really need help with is getting motivated. And sometimes just having a person in your ear telling you what you need to do, or being like, come on, Kristen.
Yeah, exactly.
Girl.
You know this.
You know this.
Right.
That is what they need to actually get them moving, to hold them accountable.
And I'm sure for some people, it's just a little bit of extra education.
Yeah, yeah.
So they maybe know, or they've read a little bit or heard a little bit, but they just don't have quite enough information
Right.
to take action.
Right.
So when you can provide those missing pieces, then
correct.
Yeah.
And it's like, even if there's something that I don't know that they're asking about, like, well, the part of my job then as their health coach is to do the research for them from reputable sources so that I can make sure on our next session, I can be like, okay, let's do a deep dive on this now, and let's give you what you need.
And I'm sure you see that all the time now, is like that reputable sources piece, right? It's very challenging.
Yeah.
Because there are so many influencers out there and so many people talking about things. And it's like, well, that's not really quite true. So let's give you what's really true.
Yeah.
Or what you really should be thinking about or worrying about if you want to worry.
Yep.
So that is really challenging.
Yeah.
What surprised you as you were going through either the yoga certification or the health coaching? Like, what did you learn that you were like, oh, I had no idea about that? Or
like the most intrigued by is some of the like yoga philosophy stuff. Mm-hmm. And this might be a little woo-woo for people, but you know, people think of yoga as just like the poses, like the different ways you're moving your body around. But it's so much more about marrying mind and body. And, you know, yoga goes back thousands of years. It's an ancient practice. And there's so many different things. There's something that I think about all the time that are called the yamas and niyamas of yoga. It's one of the like branches of yoga. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like the 10 commandments of yoga, basically. And that's a way that a lot of teachers will theme their classes around. So for example, one of them is ahimsa, which is like non-harming. Yeah. And so when a teacher is talking about self-love in a yoga class, like that's what they're really talking about. And so these are things that I really try and think about with my yoga, and then you can apply it to the rest of your life. How am I not harming other people, not harming myself, you know? So when I did the yoga certification and I did deeper dives on all this stuff, I thought, wow, this is so interesting. It's about so much more than having my legs sticking up in the air, right. You know? And that's the component that I think people miss sometimes.
Well, I do think that people are, I mean, I lived in Boulder, Colorado for 16 years. So, and it was funny because I was not into yoga or anything. Yeah. And now I'm more crunchy than I was, you know, when I lived out there. But I think that was like, people are more open to mindset work and really thinking about, like, you know, your body and your mind move together, you know, and if they're not connected, that's a problem. And I like little things like I just learned not a couple of years ago. And actually it was my son who was going through physical therapy doctorate school, who said, Mom, when you have an electrodes on, you have to move that muscle. Don't just let the electrode do the work, because it's that connection between the muscle and your brain. Right. So it's almost like that's a big piece of what yoga is doing, is getting the brain engaged with the muscle.
Exactly.
And it's just doing it in different ways, right?
Right. And I had a teacher, and I always think about this. She always said, how you are on your mat is how you are in life. So, okay, so take that. So people who say, because this is the biggest one I hear as a reason they don't do yoga, I'm not flexible. Yeah. I can't do yoga. I'm like, well, first of all, that's the reason why you should do yoga, to get more flexible. Yep. But then, like, as you're practicing flexibility in your physical body, it's also forcing you to get out of your comfort zone 100%. And practice flexibility in your life.
Well, and I will tell you, literally, like I'm hypermobile. My joints will move in a lot of directions.
Yeah.
My brain protects me against that.
Right.
But it protects you, and then it protects you more and more and more. So your range of motion gets smaller and smaller. Yeah. So then I'm going backwards now and retraining. No, I can move that far safely.
Yeah.
So that's a huge thing, I think. It's and huge. You're right. Like a lot of people, like they put that as a barrier, and it's really, they should look at it as an opportunity.
Yeah. 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 It's a place for growth. And yoga made me a better runner. for
Yes.
sure.
Well, and again, right? It's everything like that. And it's like, it's not any one thing that you can do. So you need yoga for mobility. And if that's your way of getting a mind connection, great. And then you need the cardio and you need the strength and you need the nutrition and the recovery and the, like, it's all yes, it's all one big package.
Yeah.
So you've done the run for women.
Yes.
So let's talk about your running a little bit.
Okay.
Where is that now? Where has it been? Like what?
Well, I'm 6 months postpartum.
Yeah.
So I finally got to a 3-mile run recently, and I felt pretty good about that. So that's kind of like where I am comfortable, and I'll do a couple 3-mile runs a week, and that feels good for me until I'm training for something. So I've done, I'd have to sit and count, but probably about 10 half marathons I've done. I've done 2 full marathons. My goal is I've done New York City Marathon twice. Yep. I want to do it a 3rd time for my 40th birthday. Fun. So that is something on my horizons in a few years. For now, I'm just kind of doing my little 3-mile runs and feeling good about that. I'm definitely going to do the run for women this year. I'm looking forward to it. I was so pregnant last year that I couldn't.
Exactly.
But now I'm excited to do it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think that's one thing that's so cool about the run for women is we have so many people, right, who've done it and then they're pregnant and then, then you get to bring your kids and they get to watch.
I'm so excited.
It's like all those different stories. And we talk about this a lot of like how we know that everyone has a story.
Yes.
And we just wish they would share their stories because it's so empowering to other people. And for people to even hear you just say that, like, I was so pregnant and I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Because everyone's pregnancy is so different. And I told you how I did a 10K a couple of weeks before Alex was born because that worked for me.
Right.
But then when I had Jack, it was totally different. I was like, I'm not doing nearly as much.
Yeah, no.
When you have another kid, right, that's a challenge in and of itself. But everyone's journey is so individual that they shouldn't ever be looking at other people and saying, well, I can't do that, or I don't want to even try because I won't be able to, or whatever. It's like your journey is your journey. We just want to be part of your journey.
I got into running because my dad was sick at the time, and it was like it was a way to relieve stress. And then
that's a big reason that you got into all of doing the yoga training and everything.
A lot of this is related to my father, actually, because he was sick. He had Alzheimer's. And then I signed up for my first full marathon with New York City. I fundraised for an Alzheimer's charity, and he passed away during my training. So then I was like, wow, I'm like really doing this like for dad now. Yeah. And then when I did my second full, I had my daughter at that point. So then it was like, okay, I want to show her that like mommy can do this amazing thing. So when I do it, when I'm 40, it'll be to show both my kids. Yeah. I then signed up for yoga teacher training shortly after my dad had passed because I just felt like I didn't know where to throw myself.
Well, and I think it's so challenging. My mom had dementia, so she wasn't diagnosed with Alzheimer's, but you see that. And then now there's more and more research on like what we can do to help our brains.
Exactly. And I'm like, oh, of course my dad got Alzheimer's. He didn't exercise. He was a smoker. Like it was like all the things you shouldn't be doing is what he was doing. And he was a thinly built man. So you wouldn't look at him and think he was unhealthy, but he wasn't very healthy.
Well, and that's the other thing too, right? Looks are not all of it. No. You can, and that's where I feel like now at least we have some technologies. Like I'll wear a continuous glucose monitor for fun because I like to see what does food do to my blood sugar. And the thing that kills me is stress. Yeah. Yeah. That's what drives my blood sugar up. I can have ice cream all day long and I'm fine. I can even have like chocolate or sugars, and it's stress that really does it. So I think like that kind of stuff, now that we have some of that, it's so much more important. And now we have more information out there. And that's like the whole rationale behind getting this thing started was the journey that I went through, like seeing my parents and aging and knowing that I've got some longevity in my genes, that, I want to be able to do more and do a lot.
I feel the same way, and I want to be able to remember it too.
Yeah.
I want to be in a way where my brain is working well and I can remember all of these amazing experiences.
And there are a lot of tools. My sister's part of a UCLA study on memory, and memory partners with where my parents lived. The UCLA partners with where my parents lived, and they're like just games and being inquisitive, right, and wanting to learn. So again, we were talking about doing this podcast and getting deeper into topics, like learning more. Like let's all be a little bit more inquisitive, and whether that's about our own health or fitness or whatever you want to learn about, like go out and learn. Yeah. All right. So we have our little final kick. A couple fun questions for you. So your favorite post-workout snack?
So I usually work out in the mornings and I come home and have breakfast.
Yeah.
So that's usually like oatmeal with peanut butter in it. Nice. But if I'm out for like a run on like a hot day, chocolate milk. Or a fudgesicle.
A fudgesicle. I love the fudgesicle. Like I haven't thought about that, but that's going to be my new summer go-to.
God, it's so good because you're getting the sugar. It's cold. Yes, it's not yummy, like super creamy. It's like easy on your stomach. Yeah, delicious.
Love that one. And chocolate milk, actually, I don't know if you know this.
Yes.
But milk is the second best hydrator to water. So even above like electrolyte drinks, milk will rehydrate you.
I thought of it because of like a little bit of protein that you're getting.
And too. That's why it's so good too, right? So it's like it's a double good one, which is why we always love that Garlic Farms does the chocolate milk at the Run for Women. So because really it's a great post-workout snack. Your favorite way to recover?
I guess it depends on the workout, but I find that after a good hard run, I will come inside, I'll roll out my yoga mat, I'll do some stretches with the TV on. And I'll just sit and watch whatever show I feel like watching while I'm stretching out. And it does feel really good.
Well, and I think, again, that's like, and that's a consistency, a habit type thing, right? That when I coach the kids in high school, we do full on warm ups. They do a full on cool down. Yeah. But then you get to like watch regular people going out running. They don't warm up and they don't cool down. Like, nope, we need to do that. So that's one of the things in the training challenge we do.
Yeah.
So we have our dynamic warm up, we do our workout, and then we stretch afterwards.
I don't like to cool down either, but that's why I do it with the TV on, because the pairing of it makes it a little bit more enjoyable.
Right.
And then it gets me to actually do it.
No, and it really is good for your body overall.
Yeah.
Your favorite workout or place to work out?
Oh gosh. Well, I just joined the JCC and I'm like obsessed with it now. Yeah. And I do a TRX class in the mornings, which is awesome. I don't do a lot of weight training, so it kind of forces
they have TRX yoga?
Oh.
Yes, you can get a certification. Yeah, look at that. Yes, you would really like that.
That would be fun. Yes. Yeah.
Fun. And it's for people who are like kind of like, ooh, I don't know about the yoga thing. I think that's a great way.
That's cool. Yeah. But I like taking those classes because it forces me to do the stuff that I know I need to do, but don't actually like to do. So that's fun. But I just love a run outside. And in the summertime, yoga outside on my porch is really nice.
Well, that's perfect. Yeah. So you're on CBS 6 at noon. People can see you there. But if they want to get a yoga session set up or learn more about health coaching, how do they get in touch with you?
I have a website now. It's www.lightenupwithlara.com. Lara is Lara. There's no U in my name. And then I'm also on Instagram. I've got my TV handle, which is at Lara Byrn TV. And then at Lighten Up with Lara also.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Well, it was wonderful having you. And, with everybody, it's always like, oh my gosh, we could dive more into all of this. And it'd be really fun to get an update on, how the business is going too.
That would be really fun. So down the road.
We're going to keep this going all year. So we'll have a chance to do that. But again, thank you for coming.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And what you do next matters most. So let's all go out there and get fitter.